The Texas Rangers are a professional baseball team located in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, based in Arlington, Texas. The Rangers franchise is currently a member of the Western Division of Major League Baseball's American League. Since 1994, the Rangers have played in Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. The team's name is borrowed from the famous law enforcement agency of the same name. The franchise was established in 1961 as the Washington Senators, an expansion team awarded to Washington, D.C., after the city's first ballclub. The original Washington Senators moved to Minnesota and became the Twins. After the 1971 season, the new Senators moved to Arlington, Texas, and debuted as the Rangers the following spring. The Texas Rangers Baseball Club has made 6 appearances in the MLB postseason, 5 following division championships in 1996, 1998, 1999, 2010, and 2011, and as a wild card team in 2012. In 2010, the Rangers advanced past the division series for the first time, defeating the Tampa Bay Rays. Texas then brought home their first American League pennant after beating the New York Yankees in 6 games. In the 2010 World Series, the franchise's first, the Rangers fell to the San Francisco Giants in 5 games. Their lone victory made them the first Texas team to win a World Series game, as the Houston Astros were swept in their 2005 World Series appearance. They repeated as American League champions the following year, then lost the 2011 World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals in 7 games. Franchise history. Washington Senators. When the original Washington Senators moved to Minnesota in 1960 as the Twins, Major League Baseball decided to expand a year earlier than planned to stave off threats of losing its exemption from the Sherman Antitrust Act. At the winter meetings that year, it awarded a new team to Los Angeles as well as a new team in the nation's capital. This new team adopted the old Senators name, but was considered an expansion team since the Twins retained the old Senators records and history. The Senators and Angels began to fill their rosters with American League players in an expansion draft. The team played the 1961 season at Old Griffith Stadium before moving to District of Columbia Stadium. For most of their existence, the new Senators were the definition of futility, losing an average of 90 games a season. The team's struggles led to a twist on a joke about the old Senators: Washington, first in war, first in peace and still last in the American League. Frank Howard, known for his towering home runs, was the team's most accomplished player, winning 2 home run titles. Ownership changed hands several times during the franchise's stay in Washington and was often plagued by poor decision-making and planning. Owner Elwood Richard Quesada once wondered why he should have to pay his players because he believed they didn't belong in the majors. He later agreed to a 10-year lease at DC Stadium, a move that would come back to haunt the Senators. In 1963, Quesada sold his stake in the club and resigned. Washington stockbrokers James Johnston and James Lemon owned the team briefly, suffering massive financial losses. Johnson died in 1967 and Lemon sold the team a year later to hotel and trucking executive Bob Short, who outbid a group headed by Bob Hope. Short named himself general manager and hired Hall of Famer Ted Williams as manager. Although Williams had never coached or managed at any level of baseball, he seemed to light a spark under the once moribund Senators. Williams kept them in contention for most of the season. Their 86-76 record would be its only winning season in Washington. The success though was brief, as Short borrowed most of the $9.4 million he had used to pay for the team. As the Senators' general manager, Short was forced to make many questionable trades to lower the debt and acquire amounts of the much-needed revenue. As a result, the team rapidly fell back into the American League's cellar position. Fans kept their distance from the Senators while the Baltimore Orioles, 45 miles to the northeast, won 4 American League pennants and 2 World Series from the 1966 season through the 1971 season. By the end of the 1970 season, Short had issued an ultimatum: unless someone was willing to buy the Senators for $12 million, he would not proceed to renew the stadium lease and would move the team elsewhere. When that season ended, Short dealt his best starting pitcher and the left side of his infield to the Detroit Tigers for erstwhile 30-game winner Denny McLain, who had spent most of the 1970 campaign suspended because of gambling allegations. The deal alleged by one-time Senators broadcaster Shelby Whitfield to have been made in order to secure the Tigers' vote in favor of the Senators' eventual move to Texas turned Detroit back into contenders, while McLain was a monumental bust, losing an embarrassing league worst of 22 games. Short was especially receptive to an offer brought up by Arlington, Texas Mayor Tom Vandegrift, who had been trying to obtain a major league sports team to play in the Metroplex for over a decade. Years earlier, Charles O. Finley, the owner of the Kansas City Athletics, sought to relocate his baseball team to Dallas, Texas, but the idea was rebuffed and ultimately declined by the other AL team owners. Arlington's whole card was Turnpike Stadium, a 10,000-seat park which had been built in 1965 to house the AA Dallas-Fort Worth Spurs of the Texas League. However, it had been built to Major League specifications and also located in a natural bowl, meaning only minor excavations would be necessary to expand the park to accommodate Major League crowds. After Vandegrift offered a multi-million-dollar down payment, Short decided to make the move to Arlington. On September 21, 1971, by a vote of 10-2, American League owners granted approval to move the franchise to Arlington, Texas for the 1972 season. Senators fans were livid. Enmity came to a head at the club's last game in Washington. Thousands of fans simply walked in without paying after the security guards left early, swelling the paid attendance of 14,460 to around 25,000, while fans unfurled a banner reading "Short stinks." With the Senators leading 7-5 and 2 outs in the top of the ninth inning, several hundred youth stormed the field, raiding it for souvenirs. One man grabbed first base and ran off with it. With no security in sight and only 3 bases, umpire crew chief Jim Hanoshik forfeited the game to the New York Yankees. First years in Texas. During the off-season, improvements were made to Turnpike Stadium, which reopened as Arlington Stadium for the 1972 season. Meanwhile, ownership announced that the franchise would be renamed the Texas Rangers. The team played its first game on April 15, 1972, a 1-0 loss at the California Angels. The next day, the Rangers defeated the Angels 5-1 for the club's first victory. After the season, Ted Williams retired as manager. He had made no secret of his displeasure with the franchise's new location. Whitey Herzog was named the new manager, but he was replaced before the end of the 1973 season by Billy Martin. In 1974, the Rangers began to come into their own as a team. Under the ownership of Brad Corbett, they finished the season second in the American League with an 84-76 record, behind the eventual World Series champion Oakland Athletics. The 1974 Rangers are still the only MLB team to finish above .500 after 2 consecutive 100-loss seasons. Mike Hargrove was awarded AL Rookie of the Year, Billy Martin was named Manager of the Year, Jeff Burroughs won American League MVP, and Ferguson Jenkins was named the Comeback Player of the Year after winning 25 games, a club record to this day. However, after a 44-51 start in 1975, Martin was fired as the Rangers manager and was replaced by Frank Luxey. After excellent seasons between 1977-79, the Rangers came very close to clinching a playoff spot in the first half of 1981. But when Texas lost its last game before the players' strike began, the Oakland A's won the AL West in the first half by a half game. After 1981, the Rangers would not post a winning record for another 5 seasons. During this stretch, the Rangers made one of their most unpopular trades ever, sending multi-Gold Glove catcher and fan favorite Jim Sundberg to the Milwaukee Brewers for future Brewers manager Ned Yost. The Rangers faced an attendance problem for a few years after moving their team to Texas, in part due to the team's inconsistent performance and in part due to the oppressive heat and humidity that can swallow the area in the summer. Until the Florida Marlins arrived in 1993, Arlington Stadium was often the hottest stadium in the majors, with temperatures frequently topping around 100 degrees throughout the months of summer. In part because of this, the Rangers began playing most of even their weekend games between May and September at night, a tradition that continues to this day. They usually get a waiver from ESPN to play Sunday night games. The Valentine, Ryan, and Bush years. Bobby Valentine, the Rangers' longest-serving manager at 1,186 games, became steward over an influx of splendid talent in the late 1980s and early 1990s. A winning season in 1986 was a shock to pundits and fans alike as the Rangers remained in the race for the American League pennant for the entire season. With a team consisting of many stellar young rookies such as Ruba Copyright Enciera, Pete Incaviglia, Mitch Williams, Bobby Witt, and Edwin Curry, the Rangers finished the season second place with an outstanding 87-75 record, just 5 games behind the division champion California Angels. The season marked a dramatic 25-win improvement over the 1985 season, which resulted in a yet another last-place finish in the West. The signing of 41-year-old star pitcher Nolan Ryan prior to the 1989 season allowed Ryan to reach his 5,000th strikeout, 300th win, and 6th and 7th no-hitters with the Rangers. Coupled with powerful batters like Juan Gonzalez, Ruba Copyright Enciera, Julio Franco, and Rafael Palmeiro, and a pitching staff that also included Charlie Huff, Bobby Witt, Kevin Brown, and Kenny Rogers, fans held really high expectations for the Rangers' upcoming season. However, the team never posted a finish higher than second place, and Valentine was relieved of his duties during the 1992 season. In April 1989, Rangers owner and oil tycoon Eddie Chiles sold the team to an investment group headed by George W. Bush, son of the President of the United States, George H. W. Bush. After hearing that Chiles planned to sell the team, Bush headed a group of investors that bought the team for $89 million. While his own equity in the team was a small one, he was named managing general partner of the new ownership group. He increased his investment the following year. During his tenure, the Rangers and the city of Arlington decided to replace the aging Arlington Stadium with a new publicly funded stadium, at a cost of $193 million, financed by Arlington residents, through a sales tax increase. Ground was broken on October 30, 1991 on what would become the ballpark in Arlington. The city, through the Arlington Sports Facilities Development Authority, also controversially authorized the seizure of 13 acres of land through eminent domain for the Rangers' future development. Landowners filed lawsuits over the acquisition and eventually won settlements of $22.2 million, which the Rangers failed to pay. Bush left his position with the Rangers when he was elected governor of Texas in 1994. Although Bush no longer has any ownership stake in the Rangers, he remains a fan of the team to this day and regularly attends the team's home games. In 1993, Kevin Kennedy took over managerial duties, presiding over the team for 2 seasons, keeping the 1993 Rangers in the hunt for a playoff berth into mid-September. Kennedy was let go in 1994, although the team led the AL West prior to the players' strike. The strike prematurely ended what could have been the Rangers' first division championship when Commissioner Bud Selig canceled the remainder of the season in the playoffs. Regardless of the unceremonious end to the 1994 season, Kenny Rogers pitched the 12th perfect game in Major League history on July 28. First success. The year 1995 saw the beginnings of promise for the Rangers. With a brand new ballpark that hosted its first All-Star game that year, Johnny Oates was hired as the Rangers manager. Oates and company promptly helped to bring home the 1996 AL Western Division Championship, the first division championship in franchise history. The first playoff series, 24 years after the franchise came to Texas, saw the Rangers lose to the New York Yankees, 3-1. Oates was named AL Manager of the Year and Juan Gonzalez was named AL MVP. The team featured a powerful lineup of hitters with Ivan Rodriguez, Will Clark, Mark McLemore, Dean Palmer, Rusty Greer, Juan Gonzalez, and Mickey Teckleton, but continued to struggle with pitching a common stereotype of Rangers teams despite having Rick Helling, and Aaron Seal on their roster. Oates led the team to consecutive AL West championships in 1998 and 1999. Neither of Oates' last two playoff teams could win a single game, losing all six in back-to-back sweeps at the hands of the Yankees, a team that won 3 World Championships in the 1990s after defeating Rangers teams in the first round. The 1999 team would be the last playoff-bound team for over a decade, as the Rangers took a step backwards at the beginning of the new millennium. En route to a second straight last-place finish, Oates resigned his position 28 games into the 2001 season. The Rangers finished the decade going 1-9 in the postseason, without a single home win. In 1998, venture capital billionaire Tom Hicks bought the team for $250 million. Hicks also agreed to pay the $22.2 million awarded in settlements in relation to the 1991 eminent domain litigation concerning the ballpark in Arlington. The lean years, 2001-2003, prior to the 2001 season, star free agent shortstop Alex Rodriguez was signed by the Rangers in the most lucrative deal in baseball history, a 10-year, $252 million contract. The move was controversial and is frequently maligned by fans and writers who thought that owner Tom Hicks was placing too much emphasis on one player instead of utilizing team resources to acquire several players, especially for a team that lacked pitching talent. Club officials maintained that Rodriguez would be the cornerstone of future postseason success. Although Rodriguez's individual performance was outstanding, the Rangers continued to struggle and manager Jerry Narron was fired following the 2002 season. He was replaced by seasoned manager Buck Showalter. The 2003 season signified the fourth straight last-place finish, and after a postseason fallout between Rodriguez and club management, the reigning AL MVP and newly appointed Rangers captain was traded to the New York Yankees for second baseman Alfonso Soriano and infielder prospect Joaquin Arias. In the spring of 2009, Rodriguez admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs during his time with the Rangers. During the investigations into PED use earlier in the decade, several other former Rangers players were criticized for possible use of performance enhancers. These included notable 90s sluggers Jose Canseco, Juan Gonzalez, and Rafael Palmeiro. 2004. Prior to the 2004 season, little hope was held out for the Rangers to improve on their losing ways. However, the Rangers battled with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and Oakland Athletics for first place in the AL West for much of the season. Mark Teixeira, Alfonso Soriano, Michael Young, and Hank Blalock became some of the best hitting infielders in the league, with Young, Blalock, and Soriano being named to the 2004 All-Star Game. Soriano was named the All-Star MVP after going 2 for 3 with a 3-run home run. Late in September, the Oakland A's visited Arlington for a 3-game series. After taking the first 2 games of the series, the Rangers trailed 4-2, in the bottom of the 9th. A loss would have dropped them to 4 games behind the Athletics. A home run by Hank Blalock and a dramatic 2-out, 2-run double by David DeLucky gave the Rangers a 5-4 win, one of the most memorable in club history. It also allowed the Rangers to sweep the first-place Athletics and leave them just 2 games behind with 10 to play. Unfortunately, the Rangers ended up losing 6 of the final 10 games and another turnaround season came up short. The club finished in 3rd place behind the Angels and A's, a mere 3 games out of first place. 2005. In 2005 the Rangers again struggled to find consistency amid controversy and injuries, notwithstanding that the team swept an entire homestand for the first time in its history. Frank Francisco and Carlos Almanzar, 2 key members of the bullpen, were sidelined for Tommy John surgery. Kenny Rogers, the team's ace pitcher, received a 20-game suspension from Commissioner Bud Selig for attacking a cameraman at AmeriQuest Field prior to a game. Management later placed opening day starter Ryan Drees on waivers, where he was claimed by the Washington Nationals. After Drees' release and Rogers' suspension, the Rangers' performance on the mound faltered, and a disastrous August 12 road trip all but sealed the squad's fate. On October 4, 2005, the Rangers announced that John Hart was stepped down as general manager and that John Daniels was being promoted from assistant general manager to replace him. Daniels, at 28 years and 1 month, would become the youngest general manager in Major League history. Daniels and the Rangers front office were very active in the 2005-2006 off-season. Alfonso Soriano, who had often been mentioned in trade speculation, was finally dealt to the Nationals for outfielders Brad Wilkerson and Terrell Sledge. The Rangers then began making moves to acquire pitching talent. The Rangers gained enigmatic starter Vicente Padilla from the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for Ricardo Rodriguez and acquired San Diego Padres pitchers Adam Eaton and Akinari Azuka in exchange for Chris Young, Adrian Gonzalez, and Sledge. Finally, they signed free agent starter Kevin Millwood to a 5-year contract worth $60 million. 2006. The Rangers' 2006 season ended with a disappointing 80-82 record and a third-place finish in the West. Though the club showed strength in the early going, the team proved unable to keep pace with the surging Oakland Athletics in the second half and fell out of contention in September. To some extent the Rangers were the victims of bad luck, as their win-loss record was worse than their +51 run differential for the season would normally indicate. However, the element that the club continued to lack was a solid pitching staff, whose combined ERA ranked 9th in the AL. At the season's end, the Rangers were represented in the 2006 All-Star Game by center fielder Gary Matthews, Jr. and shortstop Michael Young, who was named the MVP for his game-winning 2-run triple in the 9th inning. Significant player moves in season included a July 28 deal acquiring outfielders Carlos Lee and Nelson Cruz from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Kevin Mench, Francisco Cordero, and Lance Nix. On October 4, after 2 attempts to replicate the success of the 2004 team, the Rangers dismissed Buck Showalter as manager with 3 years left on his contract. A month later, the team announced that Oakland Athletics third base coach Ron Washington had accepted their offer to manage the team. A change at manager would be the first of several moves to strengthen the team in yet another busy off-season. Gary Matthews, Jr., Mark DeRosa, Carlos Lee, and Adam Eaton all signed with other clubs as free agents. Vicente Padilla accepted a 3-year, $33 million offer with an option for a 4th year at $12 million. The Rangers also signed Juan Boer Frank Catalanotto to a multi-year deal. The Rangers later added reliever Perma Rick Garner copyright and veteran outfielders Kenny Lofton and Sammy Sosa on short-term deals. In a sign that GM John Daniels was looking for results in 2007, the Rangers' top pitching prospect John Danks was traded to the Chicago White Sox along with reliever Nick Massett for 23-year-old starter Brandon McCarthy. The Danks trade caused quite a stir amongst fans, many of which had followed the minor league careers of the highly touted DVD trio of pitchers that included Danks, Edinson Volquez, and Thomas Diamond. All 3 pitchers would eventually reach the majors, with varying degrees of success, while McCarthy's career became marred by injury. Building the brand. The Rangers previously negotiated a 30-year, $75 million stadium naming rights agreement with AmeriQuest Mortgage Company in 2004, renaming the ballpark AmeriQuest Field. Under the AmeriQuest moniker, the ballpark featured a replica of the Liberty Bell in the stands above the Diamond Club that rang after home runs. In 2007, though, the Rangers announced the termination of the agreement with AmeriQuest, and changed the name to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. Club president Jeff Coggan cited that the team was more concerned about getting their name back on the ballpark than AmeriQuest's public financial troubles. "It's all about the brand," Coggan said. The Rangers lost a reported $2.5 million per year from the lack of naming rights but regained advertising space given over to AmeriQuest in the naming rights deal. Regardless of Coggan's comments, AmeriQuest dissolved within months after the naming rights were terminated, and the company ended most business operations in September 2007. 2007-2009, the Rangers struggled offensively early in the season, despite playing in a notoriously hitter-friendly park. On June 20, Sammy Sosa hit his 600th career home run against the Chicago Cubs at the Rangers ballpark in Arlington. Hank Blalock, the starting third baseman who had been enjoying a good season, was placed on the 60-day disabled list on the May 19 due to thoracic outlet syndrome, and Mark Teixeira followed him onto the disabled list on June 9 with a strained left quadriceps muscle. With a record of 46-59 at the July 31 trade deadline, the team traded Mark Teixeira and Ron Mahay to the Atlanta Braves in a deal that would eventually bring 5 prospects to the Rangers organization, including 4 of Atlanta's top prospects: Jarrod Saltalamacchia, Elvis Andrus, Matt Harrison, and Neftali Feliz. The team also traded closer a Permil Rick Garner copyright to the Boston Red Sox for left-hander Kason Gabbard and minor league outfielders David Murphy and Engel Belter. These moves were the beginnings of a rebuilding project headed by John Daniels with a focus on the acquisition and development of young players. In the coming years, more club resources would be dedicated to improving the quality of the farm system and scouting departments, most notably in Latin America and the Far East. The objective of Daniels' plan was to field a legitimately competitive team by the 2010 season. The 2007 season remains notable in the minds of baseball fans for 2 inexplicable oddities. On August 19 at the Metrodome, the Minnesota Twins logged 19 strikeouts against the Rangers, 1 short of the Major League record. 3 days later, the 22nd, in the first game of a doubleheader at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, the Rangers' bats came alive with a modern record for runs by one team, defeating the Baltimore Orioles 30-3. Their 27-run margin of victory is also a modern-day MLB record. Wes Littleton gained probably the easiest save in Major League history, entering the game in the bottom of the 7th, with his team already ahead 14-3. He pitched 3 innings to finish the game, and gave up just 2 hits and a walk. The Rangers began the 2008 season red-hot, headlined by newcomer Josh Hamilton, who looked to be a threat to win the Triple Crown, before fading off as the season wore on. During the All-Star festivities at Yankee Stadium, Hamilton crushed a first-round home run record in the 2008 Home Run Derby with 28. Hamilton hit another 4 in the second round and 3 during the final round, for a total of 35 home runs, but lost to the Twins' Justin Morneau. 4 Rangers played in the All-Star game: Josh Hamilton, Ian Kinsella, Milton Bradley, and Michael Young, who would repeat his 2006 All-Star game feat by driving in the winning run via a sac fly. The Rangers would finish the season with yet another sub.500 record, yet ended the season second in the West, the club's best finish since 1999. The off-season saw perennial All-Star shortstop Michael Young ask for a trade when the team told him he would be moving to third base to make room for rookie Elvis Andrus. After speaking with club president Nolan Ryan and his agent, Young later rescinded his trade request, and agreed to move to third base. The off-season also saw the departure of mercurial outfielder DH Milton Bradley to free agency. The 2009 season saw the Rangers soar into playoff contention for the first time since 2004. Despite injuries to Josh Hamilton and Ian Kinsella, the Rangers held first place in their division for long stretches of the summer before fading after September 1, losing the division to the Los Angeles Angels. The Rangers finished the season at 87-75, their first winning season since 2004 and good enough for second place in the AL West. Michael Young responded to his move to third base by posting one of his best offensive seasons ever while committing just 9 errors and earning a 6th straight All-Star appearance. Josh Hamilton and Nelson Cruz were also named 2009 AL All-Stars. Several young stars with the club broke out, including the debuts of highly rated rookies Elvis Andrus, Derek Holland, and Neftali Feliz. Second baseman Ian Kinsella hit for the cycle in April, while having a 30-30 season in home runs and stolen bases. Starting pitcher Scott Feldman posted a fantastic season as well in 2009, finishing third in the AL in wins with 17. Financial troubles and new ownership. While the 2009 season was strong on the field, club owner Tom Hicks became the focus of several reports indicating serious financial problems with his holding group, Hicks Sports Group, which also owned the Dallas Stars, the Frisco Rough Riders, one half of Liverpool FC, and the Mesquite Championship Rodeo. HSG was reported to have gone into default on a $525 million loan. In April 2009, Hicks announced he would be willing to sell a minority interest in the team. Only 1 month later, Hicks announced he would be willing to sell majority control of the Rangers. In July 2009, it was reported that Hicks borrowed money from Major League Baseball to meet the team's payroll. After the 2009 season, Hicks began scouting prospective buyers and in December entered into exclusive negotiating rights for sale of the Rangers with a consortium headed by Pittsburgh sports lawyer Chuck Greenberg and Rangers team president Nolan Ryan. On January 22, 2010, Hicks Sports Group officially reached a formal agreement to sell the Texas Rangers to the group headed by Greenberg and Ryan for approximately $570 million. Under the provisions of the deal, former owner Hicks stayed on as a limited minority partner, but was not allowed to retain a seat on the Board of Governors. Co-lead investors Dallas businessmen Ray Davis and Bob R. Simpson were named co-chairmen. Hicks also sold much of the land surrounding Rangers Ballpark to Rangers Baseball Express in a separate deal. The deal was subject to approval by the other MLB owners and completed by April 1. However, one of HSG's principal lenders opposed the sale on grounds that the proceeds would not fully repay the defaulted HSG notes. On April 21, Major League Baseball issued a statement declaring the Rangers sale to be under the control of the commissioner to expedite the process. Because of public comments made by Hicks deemed detrimental to the process, MLB also stripped Hicks of any responsibility regarding the sale of the team. On May 13, MLB threatened to seize control of the rest of the team's operations if a deal was not completed by the deadline set by the commissioner. As the stalemate between HSG and its creditors continued, on May 24, 2010 the Texas Rangers filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. As of that date, the Rangers and HSG had an estimated debt of $575 million. Much of the unsecured debt was owed in back salary. Officially, New York Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez topped the list of unsecured creditors with an estimated $24.9 million owed by the Rangers. Additionally, the Rangers also owed Baltimore Orioles pitcher Kevin Millwood $12.9 million, and then current Rangers third baseman Michael Young $3.9 million. At a press conference, the Greenberg-Ryan Group proposed to buy the team for $575 million. The sale would repay all the team's creditors, including players owed back salary. After several attempts to resolve the deal fell through, the bankruptcy court ordered a public auction to be held on August 4. The Greenberg-Ryan bid would be the opening bid, and other offers would have to be submitted by the prior day in order to be considered. At the auction, only one other MLB-approved group submitted an offer: Radical Baseball LLC, a group formed by Houston businessman Jim Crane and Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban. The auction lasted until the early morning of August 5, with the winning bid submitted by Greenberg-Ryan. The bankruptcy court approved the bid later that morning and the bankruptcy case closed. The sale to the Greenberg-Ryan was approved by all 30 MLB owners at the owners' meeting in Minneapolis on Thursday, August 12. I'll be the managing partner and CEO. If you like what's going on or you don't like what's going on, I take responsibility for that. When it comes to baseball, I'm not going to interject my opinions. If Nolan and John Daniels want to discuss something with me, they can, but I have complete faith and trust in the decisions that they make. I'll be as involved as they wish me to be, but with complete faith and confidence in them. What I'm going to focus on, particularly since the baseball side is in great shape, is the business side. How do we connect with the community? How do we create a higher tempo of energy in the front office? How can we do a better job of filling the stands and make an impact on people's lives? If we succeed on the business side and continue on path on the baseball side and combine it with a dynamic market like this is, we can be and should be one of the powerhouse franchises in baseball. The new ownership group, which included Chuck Greenberg and Nolan Ryan, was called Rangers Baseball Express, LLC, and had Greenberg serving as managing general partner and Ryan as club president. Davies and Simpson were named co-chairmen. In March 2011, Greenberg resigned as chief executive and managing general partner and sold his interest in the club following a falling out with his partners. Following Greenberg's resignation, Nolan Ryan was named chief executive officer in addition to his continuing role as team president. Ryan was subsequently designated the controlling owner of the club by a unanimous vote of the 30 owners of Major League Baseball on May 12, 2011. Co-chairman Simpson and Davis stated they would not be involved in day-to-day operations. 2010 Euro present, rise to contention. Off-season moves made by the Rangers sent Kevin Millwood to the Baltimore Orioles and acquired free agents Rich Harden, Colby Lewis, and Vladimir Guerrero. With the new influx of talent and success in 2009, the Rangers entered the season expecting to compete for the division and achieve the front office's goals of 2007. During the off-season, Texas Rangers team president Nolan Ryan spoke about the Rangers' chances in the upcoming season, saying, "After stumbling out of the gates with a sub.500 start in April, the Rangers took the division lead with a franchise-best month of June, going 21-6. The Rangers would never relinquish first place after an 11-game winning streak. On July 9, the club dealt one of its top prospects, Justin Smoak, with two other minor leaguers to the Seattle Mariners for former Cy Young Award winner Cliff Lee and Mark Lowe. The Rangers also made moves to acquire veterans Benji Molina, Jorge Cantor, Christian Guzman, and Jeff Francoeur. In the 2010 All-Star Game, the team was represented by Lee, Guerrero, Ian Kinsella, Josh Hamilton, Elvis Andrus, and Neftali Feliz. After the All-Star Game, came the debut of the claw and antler hand gestures, which gained much popularity, especially after the release of various apparel and souvenir options for the fans. Foam claws and helmets with deer antlers became quite commonplace in the ballpark as the Rangers played further into the fall. The Rangers won the AL West on September 25, advancing to the postseason for the first time since 1999. 2010 postseason. After winning the AL West with a 90-72 record, the Rangers entered the playoffs for the first time since 1999, and faced the Tampa Bay Rays for the first round, which ultimately resulted in a 3-2 series victory and marked the first postseason series victory in the 50-year history of the Rangers-Washington Senators franchise. Facing the Rangers in the American League Championship Series were the defending world champion New York Yankees, the team the Rangers failed against 3 separate times in the 1990s. In the playoffs, the Rangers' record against the Yankees was 1-9. In a 6-game series, the Texas Rangers came out victorious, winning the first pennant in franchise history in front of an ecstatic home crowd. Josh Hamilton was awarded ALCS MVP after setting a series record for intentional walks. The Texas Rangers faced the San Francisco Giants in the 2010 World Series. The Rangers' offense struggled against the Giants' young pitching and eventually lost the series 4-1, the lone win coming in Arlington on October 30. For the first time, the Rangers ended their season in the month of November 2011, repeat AL champions. The Rangers successfully defended their AL West Division title in 2011, making the club's second straight division title and postseason appearance and fifth division title and postseason appearance overall. The Rangers set records for best record and home attendance. On October 15, they went back to the World Series after beating the Detroit Tigers 15-5 in Game 6 of the ALCS. The series featured Nelson Cruz hitting 6 home runs, the most home runs by one player in a playoff series in MLB history. In Game 2, Cruz also became the first player in postseason history to win a game with a walk-off grand slam as the Rangers defeated the Tigers 7-3 in 11 innings. However, they would proceed to lose the World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals in 7 games, after twice being one strike away from the championship in Game 6. Game 7 is notable for the controversy surrounding the manager Ron Washington's pre-game clubhouse speech. 2012. Final week collapse. The Rangers lost C.J. Wilson to the rival Angels in the off-season, but managed to gain the services of Japanese pitcher Yu Darvish. They also added Joe Nathan to fill the closer role vacated by Neftali Feliz, who was shifted to full-time starter. The Rangers dominated the American League standings for much of the season, despite losing Flies and Colby Lewis to the 60-day DL. Darvish quickly flourished in the starting rotation, finishing with a 16.09 record and a 3.90 ERA. Josh Hamilton also had a spectacular season, finishing with 43 home runs, 4 of which came in a single game against the Baltimore Orioles on May 8. However, the Rangers floundered in September, culminating in a sweep by the Oakland Athletics in the final series. Before the last series of the regular season, the Rangers faced the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim on September 29, 2012. The game was postponed due to a rain delay and the game was held off until the next day. The Texas Rangers then lost to the Angels 5-4 for the first game and won 8-7 in the second game later that night, which guaranteed them a spot in the first-ever American League Wild Card playoff game. As a result of their 93-69 record, finishing second in the AL West behind the Oakland A's, the Texas Rangers settled for the Wild Card playoff slot. In the new Wild Card game, the Rangers' woes continued, as they lost 5-1 to the Orioles, 2013, missed playoffs. The Rangers finished the season in second place in the American League West with a 91-72 record, 5.5 games behind the Oakland Athletics. On September 30, 2013, the Rangers faced the Tampa Bay Rays in a 163rd play-in 2013 American League Wild Card tiebreaker game, to determine the second participant in the 2013 American League Wild Card game against the Cleveland Indians. The 163rd game was determined to be an extension of the regular season and not considered to be part of the 2013 Major League Baseball postseason. The Rangers lost to the Rays 5-2 in the tiebreaker and were eliminated from playoff contention for the first time since 2009. On October 17, 2013, Nolan Ryan announced that he was stepping down as Rangers CEO effective October 31, 2013. 2014, injury-plagued. Injuries have ruined the Rangers in 2014. The lone bright spot is Adrian Beltre, who gained career moments. Without Prince Fielder, they lost Big Offense. On September 4, 2014, the Rangers became the first MLB team officially eliminated from 2014 postseason contention when a 10-2 loss at home to the Seattle Mariners dropped their record to 53-87. The following day, manager Ron Washington resigned, citing personal issues. Season-by-season records. Through the 2013 season, the Rangers have won 3,936 games and lost 4,341 over their history, equating to a .476 lifetime winning percentage. After the 2011 World Series and the 2012 season, the team is 19-25 in individual playoff games, and 4-6 overall for postseason series. Baseball Hall of Famers. Chuck Hinton and Frank Howard, who played for the franchise in Washington, are listed on the Washington Hall of Stars display at Nationals Park in Washington. So are Gil Hodges and Mickey Vernon, who managed the new Senators. Vernon also played for the old Senators, who became the Minnesota Twins. Ford C. Frick Award recipients. Mascot. Rangers captain is the mascot for the Texas Rangers. Introduced in 2002, he is a Palomino-style horse, dressed in the team's uniform. He wears the uniform number 72 in honor of 1972, the year the Rangers relocated to Arlington. The mascot also has multiple uniforms to match each of the variants the team has. Rangers captain's chosen uniform for the game matches the uniform choice made by the team for that particular game. Captain's outfits sometimes match a theme the team is promoting. On April 24, 2010, he was dressed up like Elvis as part of an Elvis Presley-themed night. Retired numbers. Texas Rangers Hall of Fame. The Texas Rangers Hall of Fame was created in 2003 to honor the careers of former Texas Rangers players, managers, executives and broadcasters. There are currently 17 members. The hall is located in Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, behind right field. The hall's 2 levels contain 13,000 square feet, a 235-seat theater, and various plaques, photos, and memorabilia. It can accommodate up to 600 people. Inductees: 2003, Charlie Huff, Johnny Oates, Nolan Ryan, Jim Sundberg. 2004, Buddy Bell, Ferguson Jenkins, Tom Vandergriff. 2005, Mark Hulse, John Wetland. 2007, Rusty Greer. 2009, Toby Harrah, Ruba copyright N. 2010, Tom Grieve. 2011, Kenny Rogers. 2012, Eric Nadal. 2013, Ivor N. Rodriguez. 2014, Tom Schieffer. Current roster, minor league affiliations, franchise records and award winners. Season records: highest batting average, .359, Josh Hamilton, most games, 163, Al Oliver, most runs, 133, Alex Rodriguez, most hits, 221, Michael Young, highest slugging percent .643, Juan Gonzalez, most doubles, 52, Michael Young, most triples, 14, Ruba copyright N. most home runs, 57, Alex Rodriguez, most RBIs, 157, Juan Gonzalez, most stolen bases, 52, Bump Wills, most wins, 25, Ferguson Jenkins, strikeouts, 301, Nolan Ryan, complete games, 29, Ferguson Jenkins, saves, 49, Francisco Cordero, radio and television. Radio, KESN 103.3 Fathoms, KSKY 660 AM. A Euro broadcasts Rangers games when Rangers and Dallas Mavericks games occur at the same time, KZMP 1540 AM. Eric Nadal is the play-by-play announcer, and from 2009 until May 26, 2011, Dave Barnett was the color analyst for the English radio affiliates. On May 26 Barnett was moved to cover the TV broadcasts full-time. Replacing him on radio broadcasts was a rotation between Steve Busby and Brian Dolgen. Currently, Matt Hicks shares the broadcast booth with Nadal. Elmo Ornelas is the play-by-play announcer and Jerry Romo is the color analyst for the Spanish radio affiliate. On December 11, 2013, Eric Nadal was awarded the 2014 Ford C. Frick Award by the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum for Excellence in Broadcasting. Television: Fox Sports Southwest, KTXA Friday Night Baseball. On May 26, 2011, John Radigan was announced as the play-by-play announcer, replacing Josh Lewin, with FSN Southwest stating that they felt a change needed to be made. Dave Barnett was named the new announcer full-time, a job he had been doing for TV day games for the past 2 seasons in place of Lewin and Radigan. Tom Grieve is still the color analyst. Radigan was reassigned to cover the Rangers pre-game and post-game shows, a responsibility he has held for the previous 20 years. Jim Knox is the field reporter for Rangers home games. In June 2012, Dave Barnett left his position as game announcer following an episode in which he experienced speech difficulties. He was replaced by Steve Busby, who continues to be the play-by-play announcer, working with color commentator, Tom Grieve. Due to the Rangers having to play many of their Sunday home games at night, the team has been featured frequently on ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball during the summer months. Rangers games can also be seen on MLB on Fox and TBS. Texas Rangers Six Shooters. The Texas Rangers Six Shooters is an interactive dance squad for the Texas Rangers that perform various duties at Rangers home games. The girls dance, tumble, and interact with fans. See also: all-time roster, Lone Star Series. A Euro rivalry with the Houston Astros, managers and ownership of the Texas Rangers. References. External links: official website, Lone Star Dugout, Lone Star Ball, The Newberg Report, Sports Encyclopedia, Texas Rangers Hall of Famers, Sullivan, T.R. Rangers unveil 2009 uniforms, MLB.com, Friday, January 23, 2009.